Today, I have a new ride cymbal, which is fairly uncommon for me. I have been fortunate enough to acquire a great many cymbals that I really enjoy the sound of. For the most part, I've eliminated my gear acquisition syndrome as far as cymbals are concerned. However, for many years, there has been one cymbal out there in the world that I have wanted and thought that maybe one day I would acquire that cymbal. And today is that day. And this is that cymbal. This is a, believe it or not, Zildjian 21-inch custom special dry ride. And importantly, this is a special dry ride pre-2012 or 2013-ish, whenever it was that they redid this whole line, which I want to talk about later in this video. So what I want to do is tell you the story about where I got the cymbal and why I've wanted it for so long. And then of course I'm going to give you a demo. And then I also want to talk a little bit about the history of this cymbal and this cymbal lineup, talk to you about the new Zildjian special dry line and why they are just not as good as they used to be. So how I first encountered this ride, this was probably in 2011 or 2012, my first or second year of college, and a buddy of mine who also happened to be the director of a couple of jazz groups that I was in college, this was his ride, and he would bring it in every once in a while, and it was always a happy day for me when he brought in this ride because I just always loved how it sounded. I always felt like I had never really heard another cymbal sound quite like it. It was both like bright and dark sounding at the same time. It was both like dry and articulate, but also washy at the same time. It just felt like it could be used for jazz, it could be used for pop, for rock, for R&B, like just a really, really cool sounding cymbal. So in any case, he would bring it in every once in a while, and I always told him, I said, if you ever feel like selling this ride, check with me first. Don't sell this without talking to me first. And that was probably 10-ish years ago. So 10 years later, we've kept in contact ever since. He's a great drummer, his name's Christian, and he texted me and said, hey, I'm finally thinking of getting rid of that ride. Like, it's just sitting in my practice room. I've got other cymbals that I'm using. I remember you said all those years ago that you were interested in it. Are you still interested? And I said, duh. So, long story short, I actually traded him a snare for this cymbal, so it worked out well, I think, for both of us, and I'm just over the moon having this cymbal. This is probably one of the few non-Meinl cymbals that I would kind of let my OCD go for, because Meinl, Istanbul, even Zildjian, no other company has a cymbal anymore, I don't think, that really sounds like this. And I want to talk about why that's the case and why the new generation of these cymbals just isn't very good, but I'm done teasing. I want you to finally hear what this cymbal sounds like. So here's a demo. So hopefully it's clear now why I love the cymbal so much. Just nothing else I have ever come into contact with sounds quite like it. And I will say the original generation, like this is the first generation of these custom special dry rides. And I believe at the time, Zildjian made this ride in a 21, and then they also made, I I think 14-inch hats, and both of those cymbals sounded really good. They had this cool, unique kind of thing going on where they weren't completely dry or really clangy or super trashy, but they just had like this smoky sound to them. So I always remember the hat sounding good and the rides sounding good as well. And then this being the best example of that ride that I had ever heard. Now, fast forward a few years, I started working at the drum shop, and it comes out that Zildjian is going to reissue, or not even reissue, but basically redo this entire lineup, add new cymbals, add crashes, add new sizes of rides and hats. And I was really stoked because I remember loving this ride so much and thinking, oh, what a great move by Zildjian. And I believe that this was kind of in response to the Meinl Byzance, like dark and extra dry stuff really taking off at that time. This is, I can't remember exactly when it is, maybe 2013, 14, 15, somewhere in there. So they relaunched this lineup, we get them in the shop, I try them, and they just don't sound good. They absolutely lose what made this ride and the original generation of these cymbals special. And I have yet to really find one of the modern generation that they're making that sounds good. And just to illustrate my point, I grabbed one of the 21, the new special dry rides from the shop, and I just want to compare it back and forth with this cymbal so you hear what I'm talking about. So hopefully that illustrates what I'm talking about. Let me know in the comments if you like the new generation better than the old one, but yeah, I don't really know what Zildjian was thinking. I think maybe they were just trying too hard to like chase the Meinl sound. I don't know, that's purely speculative on my part, but man, they really lost what made these cymbals special. So I'm just pumped to have one of the early generation ones, and such a good sounding one, at least to my ear. I would love it if Zildjian redid this line again and tried to go back to what these sounded like. And you can tell that they look different, like the hammering is different, the lathing is different. So I don't know exactly what they changed about the process, but I wish they would go back and, you know, now they have different sizes of rides and hats and crashes in the lineup. I wish they would do that, but just with this kind of old spec. But in any case, I am super pumped to have this ride. Again, like I said, I don't often take new cymbals into my collection these days, but this is a very, very special one that I've been kind of waiting on for a long time. So huge thank you to Christian, who is a great, great drummer friend of mine, for taking good care of this ride and letting me be the next owner of it. Let me know what you think. Is this not one of the coolest ride sounds you've ever heard? Maybe I'm crazy. In any case, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.